Today, I will tell you how to spend 3 days in Stockholm as informative as possible in order not only to get acquainted with the culture of Swedish people, but also to taste it. It took me 2 weeks to collect information on official websites, forums, and social networks. For you, I've prepared a summary of everything that made my trip calm and eventful. I bought plane tickets in advance at a very favorable price. The flight was fast, but having arrived in the country, you still need to get to the capital. After all, both Stockholm airports are located outside the city. There are 2 options: use public transport, it's cheaper but takes longer, or buy a transfer ticket, and mostly people use this option. In both directions it's about 40 euros, so you can be calm that you'll not only get to the capital but also get back to the airport on time. Enjoying the surrounding views, I spent an hour and a half, that's how long the road takes. I'm in Stockholm, and the first 2 hours in this new city for me I will spend walking through its atmospheric streets. The city is built on 14 islands, and to move between them I recommend buying a travel card. The official app is called SL. There you can find different rates from one-time to annual ticket pass. A single ticket costs 39 Swedish crowns and 330 for 3 days. To recap it, I had to make 9 trips, and I made much more. I will start my cultural enlightenment with the Vasa Museum. This is the most touristic museum in the city. I had doubts whether it was worth visiting, but I will say that I have never been disappointed. Museum about the 17th century warship, which due to design errors capsized and sank in its first exit from Stockholm harbor. It was raised from the bottom after 333 years. I've allocated 1 hour for the museum, but if you want to thoroughly study everything, then you can have a great half day there. Next, Vasa is the oldest open-air museum and zoo in Sweden, Skansen. It was opened 130 years ago to show the way of life in different parts of Sweden before the industrial era. Here you can visit various craft workshops, houses with local residents, and taste the oldest Swedish bread. And then see the northern animals. It is time for a fika. It's a Swedish tradition to take small coffee breaks. Often they cannot do without fragrant pastries. In 3 days I managed to try something. Similar places can be found on every corner. And if you are familiar with Astrid Lindgren's fairy tales, I recommend visiting a small Junibacken museum. For the most part, it's intended for children, but Story Train will definitely appeal to many.
Abe made up all kinds of crazy stories. Carlson is a handsome, intelligent.
Stockholm is a city of museums, and among their plentiful number there are those that can be visited absolutely free of charge. One of these is the next one according to my plan, Museum of Modern Art. Some exhibitions are constantly held here. They post the details on their website. You can visit it for free on Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. I chose a hostel at the most affordable accommodation. Despite the fact that it wasn't the season and booked a few weeks in advance, there are no places left in the best hostels. I advise you to choose among these. I stayed at this one. At the time of booking it was the cheapest, but definitely not the best option. Day 2 and I have big plans for it. Stockholm's public transport is not limited to cozy ferries. It is primarily also the metro. And as you know, here it is one of the most beautiful in Europe. Each station is decorated for a different style and theme. Can you imagine what a pleasure it is to get to school or work with such a view? I recommend visiting the metro early in the morning on weekends, so even at the central station there will be few people. Then I looked into the Nobel Prize Museum. It is located in the old town and a guided tour is included in the ticket price. And then I went to the Holwell House Museum. The family of the Count and Countess were not just rich, Their fortune allowed for the most daring fantasies. The task for the architect was to build the most modern and technically equipped building in the city. Central heating, electricity, and an elevator were installed. And this is more than 100 years ago. English guided tour takes place once a week, on Saturdays at 1:30. Thanks to the tour, you can not only learn more about culture and history, but also visit all 5 floors of the building. Only 2 are available for a regular visit. It gets dark early in late autumn, people are coming home from work, but it's early for me to go home. I'm going to ghost walk.
Good evening.
There are guided tours in the center of the capital, where the myths, riddles, and mysteries of the old city are told. For an hour and a half, we were led through dark streets and alleys, telling scary stories. A very fascinating method of presenting information lures from the first minute.
Friends, spread out. Spread out.
I bought a ticket for this tour additionally with dinner at the Old Town restaurant, so it turns out to be a little cheaper than buying separately. And how could I miss the opportunity to try Swedish cuisine? And now I will tell you about the most budget option to eat delicious food in Stockholm. Many supermarkets have such salad bars. It is enough to choose the ingredients to taste and create your own unique dish. After that, they wait at the checkout, and it turns out much cheaper than having dinner somewhere. But after every night comes morning, and the sunrise of the next day are spent on the shore of Södermalm Island. The weather was amazing, and the views of the old town and Stockholm exceeded all expectations. The water, like a mirror, reflected the centuries-old buildings. And then I visited another free museum nearby, from which I was completely delighted. The City Museum, as its name makes clear, tells the story of the formation of the capital. On each floor there are different exhibitions that complement each other amazingly. A clear and detailed picture is emerging. If you, like me, are not ready to stop, then I suggest you visit the public library and be surprised at the scale of this building. Here you can find valuable historical books of the 19th and 20th centuries and take decent pictures. And then in the evening I visited Flygbussarna, a center for contemporary photography. Here you will find different exhibitions featuring a mix of well-known photographers and rising stars representing a variety of styles and techniques. As in many tourist cities, you can buy a Stockholm pass, but I didn't. It really includes a large number of interesting places and activities, but not all the museums you may want to visit are included in it. And the cost is not that very low. All useful information, prices, and a summary from the trip is in the description. All links are not referral and lead only to official websites. Check the information before the trip. In 3 days I visited 8 museums and many wonderful places. But most importantly, I got acquainted with the amazing culture of a new country for me.